Darwin Project comes out tomorrow, but I don't have a video prepared. What should I do? Oh, I know. 5 reasons why you should play Darwin Project instead of Fortnite or PUBG.
Reason 1. If there's one thing that I hate about PUBG and Fortnite, it's the absolute massive scale of the map. It's one of the biggest reasons why I was never really interested in the style of gameplay that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has to offer. Sure, there's some tension here and some excitement there, but from all the gameplay that I've seen, you're just kind of running around an empty map looking for people and then getting shot at from a mile away. To me, that never looked like any fun, and it looked like it would just end up being a waste of time. Fortnite, while still housing 100 players on the same map, feels a lot better about this. The scale of players is the same, but the scale of the map has been brought down to a more reasonable level, such that there's more action and games happen at a quicker pace. So between those two, I definitely prefer Fortnite. However, Darwin Project only has 10 people in the same map, and with those 10 people, you have a much smaller map. And on top of that, if you have nobody to kill in your immediate vicinity, instead of just running around the map aimlessly, you have things that you need to accomplish, like gathering wood or gathering leather so you can make your coat warmer, or so you can craft some more arrows, or so you can make some traps to prepare for the upcoming conflict that you will inevitably face. There's always something to do, and you always have goals that you want to accomplish while you're also going towards your next victim. You might not be running into people in the first 2 seconds of gameplay like in the other two, but if you know what you're doing, it's easy to go and find some action pretty quick. It never takes too long to get from one extreme of the map to the other, especially if you use the built-in portals, which can take you from one extreme of the map to the opposite extreme pretty quickly. Because of its size, you can learn the map much more quickly, and once you do, you can focus on what really matters, hunting down that little speck that you saw in the distance and trying to kill him. Reason number 2. This reason kind of goes hand in hand with the first reason, and that's the fact that there are no guns in Darwin Project. What you have is your axe, your bow, and your choice of snowballs, bear traps, cage traps, turrets, thunderdomes, and many other tools. And the way this ties into the first reason is that the scale of the weapons, as with the scale of the map, has been brought down a lot. Because your only ranged weapon is a bow and you have such drastically limited ammo compared to the guns of Fortnite or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, you're often forced into close quarters. You can use your axe to do damage and knock people away, or you can use your bow to knock people away and probably kill them. But you have to get good at leading your shot in a way that the other two games don't require from you. And because arrows move much more slowly than bullets, it's really hard to snipe somebody from across the map, but when you do, it feels amazing. And on the other side of that, you can rest assured that you're not going to be one shot from 200 meters away without even knowing who shot at you until you finally die. That never seemed like fun to me, but getting into the thick of battle, axe meeting axe, and then shooting your opponent with a bow while dodging his arrows, and possibly even deflecting an arrow with your axe? Now that is a lot of fun. And that myriad of tools that I mentioned, those can add even more fun to your hunting. There's nothing quite like leading an unsuspecting victim right into your perfectly placed bear trap, so you can really take your time lining up that shot right between his eyes. And while that's perfectly functional, one of the most hilarious things that you can do in this game is build a large pile of snowballs and then throw them at your victim, freezing them to death. I know that sounds a little bit sociopathic when I say it out loud, but there's just something so immensely satisfying about hitting a guy 4 or 5 times with a snowball and throwing him out into a forbidden zone so he can freeze to death without you ever having to swing your axe or knock your bow. As the game grows, so too will this list of tools, and I can't wait to see what the developers have up their sleeve. Reason number 3. Now, the third reason is very unique to the Darwin Project, and that is the show director. I mentioned that Darwin Project is a 10-player battle royale, but what I failed to mention was that there is an 11th player that may or may not be present on the battlefield. This 11th player takes the role of the show director, and he's got a bird's eye view and is able to watch the action unfold. And more than that, he's also able to influence the flow of combat by providing buffs, or providing arena-wide effects like low gravity, or closing an entire zone down. While you're playing, you might hear the show director shoutcast your action. See how this goes. Northwest Nick firing a shot from invisibility, weaving in and out, misses an axe shot, but Special Jade looks like he has no idea what's going on. But that unpredictability is making it hard to actually land the shots. Here comes Pruzzy from the sidelines, hoping to get a sneak shot in, and lands it. Or you might have him sing Disney songs to you, telling you to guess what movie it's from, and if you get it right, he'll help you out a little bit. What popular 80s, or was it 90s, early 90s or late 80s sitcom was this theme song from? Everywhere you look, there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Do you know it?
Oh my god, I know this one. Oh shit. Why didn't I pay more attention to my father?
You gotta tell me the movie that this Disney song is from. Do you know any Disney movies?
A bit, yeah.
Alright, well here we go. Let's get down to business.
Mulan.
Yes!
To defeat the Huns.
You've earned this. It adds a somewhat humorous game show style social aspect to the game that's, as far as I know, pretty unique among gaming in general. And when you get a show director who knows what he's doing, and you start to interact with each other, it can be a lot of fun. And while you're playing as the show director, it's pretty satisfying to have somebody answer your stupid trivia questions with the correct answer so you can help them out. And it's quite a lot of fun to close zones or threaten people with nukes just so they can go towards each other so there can be a massive fight in the middle of the map. Reason number 4. I can't really speak for PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, but the few times that I tried to play Fortnite, I never felt like the gameplay or the gunplay or the controls were quite as responsive as I would expect from a first-person shooter, or third-person shooter as it may be. There was always some amount of lag, or the movement didn't really make sense to me, and the gameplay felt weird, such that I never hit shots that I thought I would have otherwise hit. Now, a lot of that can be chalked up to a lack of skill and a lack of experience in the game, but in general, it never felt snappy or responsive to me. But the Darwin Project, as soon as I played for the first time, yeah, it just clicked. Sometimes the jumping might feel a little bit floaty, but it makes sense. It's all very intuitive, and it takes no time at all to start to understand the movement and start to make it your own. In a lot of ways, it feels like a fighting game more than it feels like an action game or a shooter game, and with very few exceptions, I haven't experienced lag in this game in the same way that I've experienced it in my limited experience with Fortnite. That said, it's a lot of fun to just move around in this game. The movement feels good, the swinging feels good, the bow shooting feels good. It all responds like you would expect. On top of that, there's no fall damage, so you can take full advantage of the verticality of the map for movement, for hiding, for hunting, and in general you don't have to worry about getting cheaply killed by being flung off of a cliff, and there are quite a lot of cliffs and high spots in this game. At least unless you get yourself flung into a pit of lava. Reason number 5. This might be the weakest reason on this list, but the game is only $15. On one end of the spectrum, you have a game like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. $30 and full of loot boxes that you get, that you have to buy a key to open. In my opinion, that's one of the most egregious ways to do loot boxes. It gives you the award and doesn't allow you to have the award until you can buy a thing to open your award. It's disgusting. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Fortnite, which, to its credit, is free. And while I personally haven't looked at the cosmetic microtransactions that exist in the game, they're pretty expensive from what I've heard. In fact, I just looked it up and I saw a skin that cost literally $20. That's a little excessive in my opinion. Now, right in the middle of this spectrum is Darwin Project. $15. 15, that's it. That's a pretty low price. And a lot lower than what I was personally expecting them to charge. I was expecting 20 at the minimum. And while I'm saying this, I haven't seen anything or any plans about their microtransaction model. So while I don't feel comfortable saying what it's going to be, I feel like the developers know how precarious the situation with microtransactions and loot boxes are. Throughout development, they've been very cognizant and aware of how gaming has been moving in general, especially when it comes to monetizing their game. They know that they have to have a competitive model to compete with Fortnite, or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and coming hot off of the whole controversy with Star Wars Battlefront. So I'm hoping that their microtransaction model is going to be very fair and non-predatory. I have nothing to base that off of, which is why I said this is one of the weakest points that I have in this video. But still, $15 for the base game, and microtransactions are, they're optional anyway. $15 for the base game's pretty fair, pretty cheap, and pretty cheap for as much fun as you're probably going to have in this game. So there you have it, 5 reasons why you should play Darwin Project instead of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds or Fortnite. If you've been around this channel for any length of time, you're probably already aware that I absolutely adore this game. I played way too much for every weekend that it was available, and I had so much fun, and I can't wait to get back into the arena with everybody. So I hope to see you in there, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Just go in. He's not gonna get him. Go get him, just go in. Yeah.
Arrow kill.
Victory.